Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alexei, and today I have a special guest, Cato Zane. Cato is a wonderful sound engineer from San Diego, California. Cato has an amazing YouTube channel where she does videos on Pro Tools tips, sound design, home studio acoustic treatment, and so on. It's a huge honor to have you on my YouTube channel. So, let's get started our interview. And my first question is, how you became a sound engineer?
Okay, well, I was into music, like most of us, right, that become sound engineers. I was really into music, and I kind of realized that I liked and was better at math and science subjects in school. So I figured that at some point, I think it was in high school or middle school, I realized that I could try to combine those two things by doing sound engineering. So I kind of went for it. I saved up and got one of those like all-in-one digital recorders. It was the Yamaha AW16G, I believe. It's one of those all-in-one things where it had a CD slot and it would burn your music to the CD for you and everything. And I got a microphone. It was like a Rode NT1, I think. I think it was a Rode NT1. And I started recording. I was in some bands in high school and stuff. So it was like punk bands and stuff. It wasn't anything crazy, but I started recording my bands and my friends' bands and stuff like that.
So my next question is, do you have an education in sound engineering?
Yeah, so what I did is I went to a four-year college. It's called Connecticut College. It's a private liberal arts college in Connecticut, so near New York, kind of. And so I studied music and technology, computer arts and technology, and economics. So it was a double major and then an added certificate program you had to apply separately to get into it. There were only four students that graduated my year, I believe. So I did that. So the music and technology program was very music composition focused, and we had added tech courses. So we used Pro Tools, we learned recording, we learned about acoustics, all of like the academic science-based stuff, and not so much using specific plugins or anything like that, right? But it was a good foundation, right? And then the computer arts and technology program, that was more of a project-based program. So I had a project I presented on at a symposium at the end of the program, and that was a great experience. That was more about learning how to do your own research, learning how to present that research, learning how to put a project together over a long period of time. So it was years, and that was a lot of fun. Economics, not so much related to audio stuff, but it's helpful, right? So I did that too. And then after college, I did just right before COVID, actually, it was a year-long course at the community college here in San Diego. And it was an electronics technician course. So I can learn how to work on sound equipment, fix sound equipment, stuff like that. So that's what I've done in terms of like formal education. Oh, and I did the Pro Tools cert classes too. I worked at a studio here in town for a number of years. It was years. And they did the Avid cert program. So they let me do that program certified. So I got certified in Pro Tools. I forget exactly which certification I have. It's like Pro Tools operator or something. And then I got the Avid Venue certification too, but I haven't used that very much. That was back when I was kind of still doing some live sound, and I'm not doing that so much anymore. So
my next question is how you became so good at working with Pro Tools?
Using it. Just using it and Googling stuff all the time, constantly trying to learn. I've been using it a long time. So I've been using it since 2006 or 2005. It might be 2005. So I've been using it a long time, and I just constantly look things up as I go. And it's like you look up when there's a problem, when you're trying to fix a thing, but then I'll also look things up just to try to learn more. So if you do that, you'll get there. It just takes time, a long time of using it.
Why you decided making videos on YouTube channel on Pro Tools tips mostly?
So I never wanted to be in front of the camera or the microphone. I'm not very comfortable with that by nature, but I started working for this company called Pro Studio Live years ago. And so what they would do is we would have these live shows in one of the big studios here in San Diego, and would bring really successful engineers into the studio. They were often like multi-Grammy winning engineers, and then they would show that something about their process. So they would be recording and we'd walk through an entire recording, or they'd be showing a mix, talking about mixing, stuff like that. So through that process, I had to be in front of the camera because I was hosting the show. So I would be the one to introduce them and to ask them questions as we went along. We'd have, since it was live, we'd have a live chat and people would ask questions while we were live, and I would pass on the questions to the engineer, stuff like that. So I got more comfortable being in front of the camera through that. But then I also noticed some people would think I wasn't an audio engineer, or I wasn't into audio engineering. They would assume I was there for other reasons. So I figured it was a good way to kind of leverage the fact that I've become a little more comfortable in front of the camera, and to kind of show that I am actually interested in this stuff. This actually is something that I'm into. This is actually something that I'm doing, right? And the other side of it is I figure it's kind of like free advertising, to be honest. So it helps in terms of that. And then, the professional credibility side of things. I just saw multiple reasons to do it. So I just kind of went for it. Yeah. Plus I love like nerding out and talking about audio stuff with people. And that's a way to build a little community. And so that's probably my favorite part about it.
Do you mix in the box or hybrid?
Technically, I guess I'm hybrid now. But I'm very much in the box. So most of my stuff is in the box. I only have a few pieces of hardware that I use for mixing. So yeah, most in the box.
Can you please tell me about your experience of working as an intern in the studio?
I mean, here it's like the idea of an apprentice, right? It's similar to that. So it's usually supposed to be people that are students or have recently been students, and it's usually considered a temporary gig, right? So you're only doing it for a certain amount of time. And then, a few years back, there was the whole thing about the laws here in regards to interns, because people were doing unpaid internships. So they're working for free. They're doing it for too long. And they were basically taking the place of the assistant jobs, the entry-level jobs. So then people who were trying to enter the workforce and get those entry-level jobs that are paid were no longer finding them because free interns were doing them. So I know there was a lot of, I think they actually changed some laws about it. And so now, at least in the state of California, there are certain requirements for an internship, like it has to be, they have to give there has to be some kind of educational value to whatever the intern is doing. So they can't just have them, bringing coffee and taking out the trash and stuff like that. They have to actually be teaching them something on a consistent basis for it to be legal. But like, even with that in place, that was in place, I believe, when I was an intern years back, and not everyone followed that. So, and I think a lot of it's the industry, right? Like, a lot of the studios here, at least, are very, they're kind of Wild West about things. They don't really follow a lot of the rules and the laws. And I don't know, it's just something you do. You just go and do whatever they need you to do. You take out the trash and you get coffee and you clean and I was doing some stuff that was relevant to studios, like setting up, doing the setups for sessions. I was installing software on the computers for the classrooms and making sure everything's running smoothly. I was organizing hard drives and stuff. And then I was also doing like some recording stuff. And since I was there as an intern, I got to book time. If I had a client that, wanted to come in to record, I could then book time in the studio. But part of it is kind of, there's a line that you could argue it can be kind of abusive. Because it's like you're doing all this work for free, and that's just for the right to book a client every so often. And then, the amount of time you spend doing this stuff versus the amount of time you spend actually learning can be very different depending on where you are. I got lucky and I got a couple assistant gigs where it was basically like the same type of thing, but it was for a specific engineer that kind of took me in, got me stuff, a couple different engineers, and you just kind of work through it. And then eventually it starts making sense, and then you're eventually able to do it yourself. But it takes a long time. I mean, it's a complex job, so it takes a long time to learn. I don't know, but the intern thing's very weird. It is very weird.
What kind of knowledge and skills an intern should have to get a job in the studio?
I think it's good if they've learned like some of the basics about audio, right? But then like the most important thing is really wanting to learn more. I think that's a big part of it. Sometimes people want to work in a recording studio and they don't realize how tedious it can be or how much work it can be. And so having that actual genuine enthusiasm about the work and not just like the idea of being in a recording studio is really important. And then being able to know when to be quiet, right? So, when I was an assistant and an intern, I would err on the side of not asking questions sometimes, because when they're in the workflow and they're listening and, when the engineer's listening critically, sometimes they don't want to be interrupted and you don't want to be the one to annoy them and have them kick you out. So I think that's a big part about it. And then, just the idea of also not geeking out too hard at people, kind of keeping your cool if someone famous walks in, or if someone that you really respect their talent and their skill walks in, being able to kind of stay calm about it. That's an important one too. It's all about just like not causing trouble so that they keep you in the room to some extent, I think.
So how an intern should behave with the clients? What is allowed and what is not allowed? Yeah.
To some extent, it depends on like where you are and what kind of work you're doing as an intern. But I would just, focus on the tasks that you're given. So if you're asked to set up, just focus on doing the setup and taking thorough notes on like, what inputs you're plugging the mics into and stuff like that. And don't bother the clients unless it's part of your task, right? So if part of your task is getting the client coffee, then talk to the client and ask them what they like. And otherwise just, be polite and don't talk their ears off, because they're often paying an hourly rate to be there. You don't want to waste their time. So, they're in work mode too.
So my next question is, should you sign a contract with a sound engineer when you're working as assistant?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never signed with an engineer that I've worked with. I've signed contracts for studios. I think studios tend to be a little more focused on the legalities of things and liability than the individual engineers that I've assisted. So from my experience, the contracts that I've signed have been with the studios and not with the individuals.
How do you get clients in a COVID era?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I have a really good answer for that. For me personally, the way I've been getting clients is, so for my studio here, this is my home studio. And I moved in August. So I've been building up this home studio. And I only recently started having clients here to record, like here in person, instead of just like doing remote mixing out of my home studio. So I've kind of shifted recently from commercial studio stuff while recording to recording here. For here, since it's my home studio, I've only been doing word of mouth. So it's just clients that I already had that I trust, and then them recommending people. And it's somehow kept me busy. But I think for me, the other way that I've gotten clients is by just putting myself out there. I think the YouTube stuff has helped in some cases, especially with remote stuff, because people have contacted me from other parts of the world wanting me to do remote work for them. So just putting yourself out there, saying this is something I'm looking to do more of, if, I have some availability, or, whatever it means, just put yourself out there online, and that helps to some extent. It can take a while to build up clients, but I don't know. COVID era, I've just been doing more remote work, just kind of stopping the other stuff and doing more remote work. And when I first stopped doing, I quit a couple things that were in person when COVID happened. And I had a little more free time at first, you know. I still stayed busy, but like for COVID, I was working like 12 days. So I was very 12, 14-hour days. I was very busy, and it was kind of nice to have a bit of a break and do a little more of like a 9 to 5 thing. And now it's kind of built back up again, and I'm back to doing long days most of the time. So
how important to treat acoustically your home studio?
I mean, I think that's really important. I've prioritized that with the studio. So before I don't have very much outboard gear. So I have definitely prioritized getting acoustic treatment. So I have an attack wall that's in front of me here around my desk. And then I have my standing bass traps. This is an acoustic panel, this piece of art right here. I just ordered ceiling panels and corner traps for the studio. So I've spent a lot of my funds on acoustic treatment so that I could get a good mixing environment before branching out to other stuff. And so like for years, I didn't buy any microphones because I was just focusing on getting a good mixing environment so I could mix in my home studio before then branching out into tracking in my home studio, if that makes sense. So I've kind of tried to, and this is just my personal approach, you know, different people have different approaches, but I've definitely tried to focus on, you know, getting one thing really good and then moving on to the next thing. So I think it's really important. It helps a lot. It helps you translate your mixes, definitely.
What do you use to treat your home studio acoustically?
So far, I have an attack wall. So I have 2 of the monitor stands from the attack wall. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the tube traps that they have. So I have that around my desk, and that helps with like early reflections. It kind of creates its own little space around the desk. It made a huge difference when I first got it. It's one of the acoustic treatments that I've gotten where it definitely made a big difference. Noticeable difference when I got it. Then behind me, I have some GIC acoustic standing bass traps. These 3 black standing bass traps behind me. So I have those. And those used to be a lot closer to my desk in my old place because it was a lot smaller, but now they're a little farther back. This is a GIC acoustic panel. It's the Tape Op series Bunnies panel that they have. So that's actual acoustic treatment. I also have another panel. It's like right off the screen here. Let's see if I can get it for you. See, it had this black panel. So I have that panel there as well. I'm trying to think what else I have. The couch has an impact. The couch totally has an impact because it absorbs sound, right? And then I ordered some GIC acoustic corner bass traps to go from the floor to the ceiling in the corners because bass is one of the big things, one of the bigger things in my studio that I have to do more of here. And then I got some GIC panels that are going to be hanging from my ceiling. I think those I ordered in early October, and they're still not here yet. So everything's been taking forever to get. But once I get those, I think one of the things I might do next is diffusion, because I recently got SonarWorks. So what I've noticed, my studio is a lot flatter of a response than I thought it was going to be. So I'm really happy with that. I've been really happy with my decisions so far, but there's a little bit of a dropout with the upper frequencies. So I might adjust to try to compensate for that and make it a little bit flatter. But we'll see what happens once I get the new stuff in and recalibrate everything and see what it looks like. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
What are your plans for the future? What goals in music you would like to achieve?
That's a good question. I want to just keep doing it. I just, I don't know. I've been really happy lately in what I've been doing and who I've been working with. And I like trying to take the path of working with people that you really like to work with, that you really, for lack of a better word, like vibe with, right? On music that you get really excited about, or projects that you get excited about. So I kind of just want to keep doing that. I don't know if I want some of the bigger, flashier things. I just kind of like working with people that I like and hanging out and having like kind of low key working on music days. So that's kind of what I've been feeling. I don't know.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful interview. It was a huge pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for the possibility and the opportunity. I really appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.